It is the 18th of April 2024. You're just in time for the morning drifts. There's just a lot that we're going to unpack on this show today, starting from the doctor strike declaration by the government, and also a time when there are job cuts looming in the civil service sector in the country. As the president says, we only have up until 2028 to make sure that the wage bill sticks to what the rules state. 35% of our revenue. That's what we start this morning. A time that also the intern positions in the Ministry of Education have been declared illegal. So 60,000 tutors have been hired by the Teacher Service Commission may force their employer to pay them full salary. We'll be telling you that at a time when the president has been speaking tough to the doctors striking in the country and the sympathizers, and he says this, he doesn't have the money to pay them. So if you are a sympathizer, get the money and pay that money to the doctors. This, as it is officially the second month of the medic strike, playing ping pong with patients in majority of public hospitals, as the cost of Medicare has risen up in the past 1 month, as private hospitals now are the solution to those who can't afford proper care in these public hospitals. Which way there's ends, we talk about that this morning, plus many other issues. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us right here at Lookuptv. This is the morning drift. We come back, I'll be telling you exactly what it is that is trending this morning on your newspapers. Good. I'll start with a quote, and this is what it says. Good people, we must just do what we must do. This is the standard. And for your information, I intend to do it, and I'm ready to take the consequences. My name is Zakayo, and there is no problem. If the country is going to get where we want it to go, I don't mind names, as long as we get the country where it should go. As the president, as he speaks about the civil service jobs that are going to go in wage bill cuts. That's that. And it talks about civil servants with fake academic papers will be the first to exit, and money paid to them recovered as Ruto's administration announces plan to cut the wage bill that gobbles up 44% of the revenue instead of the 35% of the desired ratio. You're going to read that story on page 10. And 2025 is going to be the year that all the institutions at both levels of government are to migrate their payroll to the Human Resource Information System by June 30th, 2025. So job cuts looming in the civil service sector then. The story on page 2 is a bloat as intern posts declared illegal, meaning that over 60,000 tutors were hired by the Teacher Service Commission now will demand full salary from the employer. This is a court found that the commission violated the right to fair labor practice. Story has been covered on page 2. Chilling details of women's murder. You're going to read that story on page 3. And members of parliament clash over 9 billion shillings tower. Claims of poor workmanship rocks house over the 9.8 billion shillings Bunge Towers, whose construction dragged on for 14 years and a cost doubled. The story has been covered on page 5 as well this morning. That's it. The story here is about how Mbappe delivers PSG, C of Barcelona. That's not the story. You do know about that. The story is that the biggest teams in England, that is Arsenal and Manchester City, are out of the Champions League competitions. So England essentially do not have a representative. So that means for you now to qualify for the Champions League positions in next year's competition, you have to clear in the top 4. So I wonder why Man United fans are celebrating instead of crying. Because had Arsenal and Man City gone through, they've been given 5 positions. Now here you are celebrating about Arsenal and Man City failing, when in reality you can't clear even in top 4. So I just don't get it. You should be crying with us this morning, because you can't go past Aston Villa, you can't go past Tottenham, and here you are celebrating Arsenal being beaten by Bayern and Madrid beating Manchester City. Talk about delusion. I just don't get it. Yeah? It's going to take you 3 more seasons to even play in the Champions League, and here you are celebrating. Oof. Well, those are the results. Yeah, Arsenal lost with an aggregate of 3-2, and Manchester City went out essentially on penalties. There's no need of talking about aggregates on that particular one. Silva losing a key penalty that would have seen Manchester City progress. All right, so let's cross over to the Daily Nation this morning as well. Here we are. Job cuts loom in wage bill review. Thousands of support staff who constitute more than 2/3 of the 960,000 strong civil service workforce, casual workers, and public servants with fake academic certificates will be the first casualties if the government sticks to its plan to address the ballooning wage bill. Story has been covered on page 4. On the back page, you're being unreasonable, Ruto tells doctors. And this body says it's a tragedy for highly educated professionals to make unreasonable demands in the face of economic hardship and the fiscal constraints at the expense of legitimate needs of other citizens, President Ruto said yesterday, as he maintained a hardline stance against the ongoing national doctors' strike. The story has been covered on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. Good. Thousands of actually, it's about drama. State House concert is going to start today. Yeah. As in, there will be a winner state concert at the Sagana State Lodge in Nyeri County. Yeah. So President is going to be there. When I read about that, story has been covered on page 4. Gachagua moves to take charge of UDA polls. Story has been covered on page 10. There's a story here on, there's an alert as Kindiki issues floods warning as heavy rains pound the country. Story has been covered on page 8. And that's it. That's really it on the Daily Nation. This morning. There's also a story here that has been covered on our website as well in the back page on our court topped our area wife and the in-laws prosecution in a 351 million shillings graft case. Just before we step out then, the Business Daily this morning has got news about how Rubis has inked a deal to operate National Oil and Rescue Plan. The story has been covered on the Business Daily, and the market snapshot. And I see Tonia Index ended on a positive 0.27% on the positive, and I see All Share 0.27% on the negative. That's what it is. Majority of these stories this morning are going to make the back end of our conversations, especially on those stories on the President declaration on civil service jobs, as well as the doctor strike. So hang around for that. Take us any breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom, where we get to look at what it is that you're waking up to in terms of our top stories. Right, welcome back. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Less than a tech. A look at what it is that you're waking up to this morning. The government has warned about over 15 areas that are likely to experience flooding as heavy rains continue to wreak havoc. In a statement yesterday, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki stated that areas along the lakes and rivers, low-lying areas, and places with poor drainage are at risk. Stanley Lugabria reports. What Kindiki said is the steps the government has taken measures to ensure public security and safety, and is prepared to meet massive in the country. Let's take a look.
With floods causing a wave of destruction across the country, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has warned the 7 Forks hydroelectric power dams in the eastern part of the country are filled to the brim as of this morning, adding that Masinga Dam, which is the first largest and most consequential of dam is already spilling through the managed structural spillways.
If the rains comes up again.
The CS adding that the river Tana is likely to burst its banks downstream, leading to significant flooding in Garissa, the Tana Delta and Lamu counties.
Downstream, they'll have to move.
Kindiki has added that the government has taken proactive measures to ensure public security and safety and is prepared to mitigate any adverse effects of flooding in the country, with the National Disaster Operations Center at the Ministry of Interior and National Administration on Wednesday reconvening the multi-agency disaster management team established during the 2023 El Nino rains to ensure a coordinated, whole-of-government approach to monitoring the current situation and organizing government response programs. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv.
Moving on, President William Ruto slammed leaders sympathizing with doctors during the ongoing strike, asking them to go ahead and pay them. Speaking during the final day of the wage bill conference in Nairobi, Ruto said the government cannot afford to give in to the doctors' demands, saying that there are real issues to be dealt with.
With medics vowing to continue with their strike until the government fully implements the 2017 collective bargaining agreement, there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel, with the head of state seemingly unhinged with the 5 weeks long standoff. Speaking on Wednesday during the 3rd National Wage Bill Conference at the Bomas of Kenya in Nairobi, President Ruto stated that their demands cannot be met, noting that leaders championing the medics' go-slow should go ahead and pay them the dues they are demanding.
We have a doctor's challenge. Can hardly pay because we've said, there are real issues we want to deal with. You have leaders who it is in their place, including governors, saying we support the doctor's strike. Really? If you support the doctor's strike, pay the money they are asking for.
President Ruto's sentiments come barely 24 hours after the Council of Governors, led by their chairperson Anna Mumbi Waiguru, cautioned the government against implementing the 2017 collective bargaining agreement. Through a statement to newsrooms, the Council of Governors noted that they will not be party to any agreement to implement the CBA, and if at all they have to implement that CBA, then the Treasury must remit more funds to the devolved units for them to meet the medics' demands. The head of state took a swipe at leaders supporting the strike and opposing government initiatives in what looked like a dig aimed at opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who hinted at the opposition joining the doctors' strike.
We must stop chasing what is popular. We must go after what is right.
The 3rd Annual Wage Bill Conference has been ongoing for the past 3 days, with President William Ruto stating that the government will soon start a purge on public officials operating with fake certificates.
We will now confront the monster of corruption head-on going forward. Whether it is in counties, whether it is in the national government, those who have earned money using fake certificates should refund us our public money.
Ian Keitane, Lookuptv.
Let's move on. Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumincha has affirmed that the government will collaborate with striking doctors under new terms. Nakumincha, appearing before the Senate to respond to questions about the ongoing doctor strike, noted that the collective bargaining agreement the doctors are referring to elapsed in 2021. She further appealed to the Senate to intervene and resolve the stalemate, as John Matavanal found.
While appearing before the Senate to answer questions regarding the doctors' strike in the country, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumincha noted that the government will engage the doctors under new conditions.
To the government being on strike, And they have explained that this is because the CBA was not implemented from 2017 to date. The different areas that need to take responsibility. We have matters for the national government, we have matters that are cross-cutting, we have matters of county government. Speaker and honorable members, I want to confirm that of the 6 issues that pertain to the national government, we have addressed them.
According to Nahumecha, the 2017 collective bargaining agreement of the doctors are referring to expired in 2021, further requesting the Senate to intervene and assist in resolving the doctors' conflict.
I want to ask of this House that as for that stipend, we are asking that if the interns, and should they accept that, then they open room for negotiation that government has offered. They have not come to the table to tell us that, no, we will not take that, we want this. That must be allowed to happen.
According to CS Nahumecha, the National Treasury is this week expected to release 8.5 billion Kenyan shillings to be used for settling of the money hoard to hospital facilities.
This solution will not just come from the Ministry of Health. It will come from the whole of nation approach and the ministry being able to implement what will have been agreed on. I have also said that we expect a ruling from the court today. The mention is happening today. But the judge in his wisdom already ordered the doctors to suspend the strike. I want to plead with the doctors that if they respect the court orders and suspend the strike, they will create a very good environment of being listened to, and even the government also moving forward so that we meet somewhere with the doctors.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
We talk about that this morning. Now, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi remains defiant that there's no fake fertilizer in circulation in the country. Chidiki has assured farmers that the fertilizer being distributed under the subsidy program is certified fit for planting and has urged them to pick the side fertilizer from the National Cereals and Produce Board depots to enhance food production. On Retender with more this morning.
While on a tour of the Clifton National Cereals and Produce Board Depot, Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi has urged farmers to pick subsidized fertilizers from various NCPB depots across the country to facilitate their planting activities. Linturi has in the same breath rubbished claims that fake fertilizer is in circulation in the country, terming the claims malicious and meant to taint the government's image.
Serikali inaweka njundi ya kuhakikisha kuna mbegu, kuna fertilizer. Watu wako waambie wakuja wachukue fertilizer, sababu fertilizer hapa. Waachane na hiyo story na propaganda ya watu ambaye hawataki wa Kenya waende mbele.
Linturi additionally picked issues with some leaders who are critical of President Ruto's efforts to reduce the cost of living through subsidized production, insisting Kenyans are now enjoying cheap maize flour thanks to the subsidy program.
Wakulima wetu turundi mashambani, tushalishe chakula, tuweze kujilisha kama taifa, tunjiondoe katika aibu hii ya kila wakati ni kuomba na kutegemea misaada. Na the only way ni sisi wenyewe kurundi mashambani.
With a bumper harvest expected at the end of this planting season, Linturi says the government will help farmers dry their produce to cushion them from losses.
Niko na pia na ule mpango wa kupeana dryers ya kukausha mahindi ili tuweze kuhakikisha ya kwamba we manage post harvest losses.
The Agriculture Ministry will also avail certified seeds to farmers to guarantee food security.
Tutapeana korosho, tutapeana nazi, tutapeana sunflower ili wakulima waende wakapande, ikiwa ni dhihirisho ya kwamba ya serikali tunajali watu hapa pwani na tunataka waungane na wengine katika taifa hili tuweze kukuza taifa letu.
Tenda Nyula, Lookuptv.
Let's move on this morning. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has assured the United Nations agencies in Kenya of the government's enhanced partnership in the implementation of the development goals and targets. Speaking during the UN-Kenya partnership meeting at his official residence in Karen, Nairobi, Gachagua told representatives of 24 UN agencies in Kenya that the Ruto administration will continue collaborating and working with them in joint development programs.
While meeting 24 United Nations agencies in the country, Gachagua insisted that the government will work with the agencies in the implementation of 2022-2026 Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, while lauding the UN and development partners for collaborating with the government in response to the devastating drought occasioned by 5 consecutive failed raining seasons and the El Nino flooding in 2023.
Forever indebted to all of you for the support that you gave us when we had the worst drought in 40 years. I don't know what we would have done without your support and interventions. I assure you that the government of Kenya, under the leadership of His Excellency President William Ruto, is taking great strides in setting the stage for a new agenda for Kenya.
The UN resident coordinator in Kenya, Dr. Stephen Jackson, said that the UN agencies in Kenya have aligned their development programs with the core pillars of the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda, indicating that better means leaving no one behind. Dr. Jackson added that the cooperation framework runs for 4 years, and their vision is to mobilize $2.2 for its implementation.
Bottom up for us is how you translate leave no one behind into Swahili. It's literally as simple as that. We're both talking about and committed to the same thing. And that translates, as you'll see, I think, into really strong programmatic alignment. The framework, this cooperation framework, currently runs for the 4 years leading to 2026, and our ambition is to mobilize $2.2 billion, or about 285 billion Kenyan shillings, for its implementation. I have to caution, we haven't mobilized all of it.
Shamila Baraza, Lookuptv.
So the thing is, the national wage bill should be 35% thereof were national revenues. 35%. Currently stands at 44%. In fact, if we go back a little bit, maybe to around 2021 and 2020 thereof, at the time it was about 53% of national revenues. Now the president is weighing in on this, is saying it should be back to 35%, and that by 2028. But then he's saying, if you are in the civil service with fake academic papers, you have to refund the money that you've been paid over the years and surrender, get out, because they're going to come for you. And that, it says, is going to be achieved by making sure that all institutions at both levels of government are migrating their payrolls to the Human Resource Information System by June 30th, 2025. So, by next year mid. That, we talked about it this morning. But then on the sidelines of that, this is what Ruto is telling the doctors, or any other person who's sympathizing with the doctors. He's saying, you think you have the money, you go right ahead and pay them. I don't have the money. I don't have the money. But then, when Susan Nakhumicha appears before the Senate committee, says, we are ready to negotiate, just that they have to get off the streets. 2 statements that are going to lead us into our conversation this morning. Which way to go for the president and the health ministry in solving this stalemate? Join us online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. This morning, we'll be joined by Thiolo Muiburi, who is the founder, Gilgil Youth Forum Kenya. We're also going to be joined this morning by Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who is the chairman of Nairobi County Jubilee Party Youth League. Also, Uchenga Alex Hillary, who is an aspiring MCA, Kamagambo South, Rongo constituency, Migori. Let's talk about that this morning and look at the top issues that are affecting the country. Once we come back right here, the hashtag is the morning drift. Madam Simba Elijah Charles King. Join us online at Lookuptv. We'll be coming back shortly after this break.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Come, let us show you place spot to build your dream home in Baraka Gardens, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, maji na stima iko on site, usitans na stories za title deeds ziko ready, plus flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch, twende site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana Loto Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo. Wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia Loto Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Open University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
Open University has brought a new dawn in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202 0000211 or 0202 0000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity.
We want to talk about seeing beyond our circumstances.
Those circumstances, they are not beyond God.
Yeah.
They may be beyond us, but they are not beyond God.
Yes.
And that's why we really need to know this God.
Whatever come, you must be firm.
That's true.
You must stand. Because maybe even some of the way the gospel was presented, it was in a very soft way.
Very soft way.
That's when you come to Christ, no more suffering.
If you believe in Jesus Christ, then you are an overcomer. So no circumstances will make you to come down.
We must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of God.
Yes.
Said, we must go through.
You need to understand that point. We must.
No escape.
No escape.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
President is fighting on two fronts. First one is that our wage bill is currently at 44% of what we collect as a country, heading to 50%. He said unsustainable. So he says it's got to come back to 35%, just like SRC essentially envisions it. And he said we're going to achieve that by 2028. But then on the back end of that, the doctors are also on the street and they want more money, which the president is essentially saying, I don't have. Right, so he says this: if you have the money, as a leader sympathizing with the doctors in this country, you go right ahead and pay them. For me, no, I don't have the money. Now Kumincha is also on the other side saying, yes, we are ready to negotiate, but then they gotta come out of the street. So the doctors are getting treated with two statements this morning. There is no money, stop being unreasonable, get back to work. Now Kumincha is saying, it's possible we could give you that money, but then get off the street first before we talk. Well, before I introduce a gentleman who are in the studio this morning, then to further this conversation, let's take a look at this story. Come back and talk about it.
With medics vowing to continue with their strike until the government fully implements the 2017 collective bargaining agreement, there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel, with the head of state seemingly unhinged with the 5 weeks long standoff. Speaking on Wednesday during the 3rd National Wage Bill Conference at the Bomas of Kenya in Nairobi, President Ruto stated that their demands cannot be met, noting that leaders championing the medics go slow should go ahead and pay them the dues they are demanding.
We have a doctor's challenge. Can hardly pay because we've said, there are real issues we want to deal with. You have leaders who it is in their place, including governors, saying we support the doctor's strike. Really? If you support the doctor's strike, pay the money they're asking for.
President Ruto's sentiments come barely 24 hours after the Council of Governors, led by their chairperson Anna Waiguru, cautioned the government against implementing the 2017 collective bargaining agreement. Through a statement to newsrooms, the Council of Governors noted that they will not be party to any agreement to implement the CBA and if at all they have to implement that CBA, then the Treasury must remit more funds to the devolved units for them to meet the medics' demands. The head of state took a swipe at leaders supporting the strike and opposing government initiatives in what looked like a dig aimed at opposition leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who hinted at the opposition joining the doctors' strike.
We must stop chasing what is popular. We must go after what is right.
The third annual Wage Bill Conference has been ongoing for the past 3 days, with President William Ruto stating that the government will soon start a purge on public officials operating with fake certificates.
We will now confront the monster of corruption head-on going forward. Whether it is in counties, whether it is in the national government, those who have earned money using fake certificates should refund us our public money.
Ian Keitane, Lookuptv.
The second part of the story essentially is going to come later on. And we'll be telling you exactly what the president said about it on deeper details. Also, later in this broadcast, we'll be telling you exactly what CS Nakumincha is also saying on this particular issue. It has started from, we'll solve it, to there is no money. As this goes on, the doctors have vowed that they will be on the streets until they are listened to. Yesterday, we ran headlines here at Lookuptv on how this is a game of push and pull. Majority of public hospitals in the country are empty, as patients now have to go to private hospitals, and those who can't afford to go to private hospitals are languishing back at home. Good. Let's then introduce the gentlemen who are joining us this morning for this particular conversation. I do have Thiongo Mwiruri, who's the founder of Gilgil Youth Forum Kenya. Thiongo, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Happy to have you around. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Also this morning we do have Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who's the chairman of Ruby County Jubilee Party Youth League. Nick, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning, Simba.
Happy to have you around. Karibu sana to Lookuptv.
Sana.
Finally then, we have Ochieng Alex Hillary, who's an aspiring MCA, Kamagambo South Wongo constituency, and Migori. Anyway, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good.
All right, let's talk about this then. Thiongo, I'll start with you. Now, if you're sympathizing with the doctors, you pay the money. You pay them. We don't have the money as a Kenya Kwanza government. And the message to the doctors this morning, now listen, and I'm going to quote it. They are well-educated professionals in this country. They should stop being unreasonable with their demands. So get back to work. That's the stance from the doctor, from the president. He spoke like a man who's angered by what the doctors are currently doing in the country by going on with their strike.
Thank you very much, Simba, for that question. And let me begin by saying that there's a burning crisis in this country. And watching the president yesterday at Bomas seemingly angry at the doctor strike is quite laughable, because we have had the president appointing 50 CASs, and you know, the president talked about differentiating between the popular and what is right. The question that I'd put this morning is, was the appointment of the 50 CASs right or popular? That's a rhetorical question. I think the money is there, but we are lacking priority as a country, or rather the government is lacking priority. What the doctors are putting on the table, or rather are requesting, are issues that are reasonable. And so this government needs to stop the hypocrisy that it has and just pay the doctors. Because we cannot be taking a matter that is very serious, a sector that is very serious in this economy, in this country, the health sector, we cannot be taking it as a joke. The doctors needs to be paid. The government needs to be up to task. And the president should stop being angry for nothing, because Kenyans are getting angry. So my message today is just pay the doctors.
Nick.
Yes.
That if you're going to sympathize with the doctors, pay them.
Well, I think the president is a good public relations stunt, because what he's doing is just whipping unnecessary emotions that are going on within our country. Because he's alluding that we don't have money. Yet we recently renovated State House with 1 billion shillings. Simba. Thousands and thousands of Kenyans are dying in Kenyatta Hospital, are dying in Mama Lucy. But he does not want to have a conversation of 2017 CBA. And the doctors are growing impatient because each and every year they are tricked into delivering services and they're not paid. Simba. We are complaining that, he is complaining that we don't have money. And I totally disagree with him, because at one point there is money to build houses using our taxes. He is forcing the 1.5% down our throats. But when we demand our rights as doctors, as they are saying, now there's no money. And the issue of trying to blame the governors back and forth, whether it's a national government issue, a county government issue, is totally uncalled for. Because the policies and laws are very clear, Simba, that we need at some point that if health is devolved to county level, where does the national government come in? Is it that they don't want to fully hand over the issue of wage bill to the county government? That's what the governors are asking, because it's a back and forth to them. And it is totally unnecessary, because as we speak, the Minister of Labor is quiet. Nobody's talking about him. The SG, Kotu, he's still quiet. People who have been elected, people who are being put there to support the plight of Mama Mboga and Vijana wa Boda Boda are no longer fighting for our rights. They campaigned on policies that they are going to help the doctors, that they are going to help the common mwananchi. Now the smart people, the doctors, they say, are now on the street crying out for their rights. And we are cautioning the government, because today we're talking about doctors. The teachers are saying we are coming soon on the street. The wage bill needs to be handled once and for all. The conversation needs to stick, whether by law or policies. We need to agree how we are paying our teachers, how we are paying our doctors, and how the taxpayers' money comes back to our pocket. Because we cannot invest in our country, Simba, by the heavy taxes that they keep shoving down our throats. Yet when it comes to what we truly deserve to take back home, they're crying foul. And doctors are saying also one thing, Simba, this morning. They are also parents. They need to pay bills. But that's beside the point. My sympathy goes to the 1,000 Kenyans that are in hospital, who are dying each and every day. Today, where I come from, Roysambu, I received a call. They cannot receive a basic right like health. The whole Ministry of Health needs to be looked at. And I don't know why. We need to call for the resignation of Susan Akumincha, because she's totally failed in her job. The entire Ministry is in a crisis, from the NHIF to now doctors. Simba, we must do something.
That's it. I'll be coming to you on that, because even as we talk about this, the president is also saying, well, our wage bill is going to come down. That if we do all these things as well, we'll be pushing our wage bill upwards. So where is the medium point? Hillary, that if you're sympathizing with the doctors this morning, you go right ahead and pay them. As the president, as a man who oversees how this government runs, is telling you there is no money. You go pay them. And he's telling the doctors, they're polished individuals, they're well-educated individuals. Let them stop making unpopular or unreasonable demands.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Simba. But today I would like to say I'm a person who embraces the UDA and the Kenya Kwanza policies. But on this bench, my fellow gentlemen, today I would like to say I agree with you. Yes, because the Kenya Kwanza government.
Are you defecting?
I'm not defecting. I'm not defecting.
Are you defecting?
On policy.
Are you a sympathizer?
I'm a sympathizer.
So do you have the money to pay the doctors?
I would love to say there is some hypocrisy that is being propelled by some people, some individuals in the government. I don't know whether they are the advisors of the president or not. But on this particular issue, I would love to say that the Kenya Kwanza government, as we campaigned, as the process was, it was for the common mwananchi. So these common mwananchi, even as much as doctors, the relation is the doctors are the people who are helping the common mwananchi. And even the doctors themselves, they are common wananchis. And they need these finances. And our government, the Kenya Kwanza government, I want to say that we are a rich government. We are not a government where we will complain and say, there is no money. I would love to say that the money is there. The president just needs to only put a signature somewhere, and the money will be released to the treasury. So today on this bench, I would love to say, I agree with you people. Yeah. And on the issue, you've talked about Nyakumincha being released out of office. We were here, and I defended her anyway in our last conversation. And even up today, I still defend her. We need to give her time.
Does it?
Yeah.
And that's where the conversation is going to come, because, Thiongo, just before you come in then, that's where we are. So the president has spoken like that, and we're going to play the last part of what the president was talking about yesterday in the second part of our conversation, because, gentlemen, as we sit here, the president is saying he's going to fight corruption head on. And so if you're in the public service or the civil service with fake academic papers, he's saying one thing: surrender now, because we're coming for you. And then all the monies that you've been paid over the years while serving that particular position, give it back to us. We'll be making sense of that particular statement. But then, even before we get there, which is the second part of our conversation this morning, CS Nakumincha is speaking. But she's not speaking like the president is speaking. No. She's saying completely something different. All right, Paul, if you can then give us that particular story for CS Nakumincha on her sentiments on this particular strike, so that we can weigh in on it. Let's take a look.
While appearing before the Senate to answer questions regarding the doctors' strike in the country, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakumincha noted that the government will engage the doctors under new conditions.
To the government being on strike, and they have explained that this is because the CBA was not implemented from 2017 to date. The different areas that need to take responsibility. We have matters for the national government, we have matters that are cross-cutting, we have matters of county government. Speaker and honorable members, I want to confirm that of the 6 issues that pertain to the national government, we have addressed them.
According to Nakumincha, the 2017 collective bargaining agreement of the doctors are referring to expired in 2021, further requesting the Senate to intervene and assist in resolving the doctors' conflict.
I want to ask of this House that as for that stipend, we are asking that if the interns, and should they accept that, then they open room for negotiation. that government has offered. They have not come to the table to tell us that, no, we will not take that, we want this. That must be allowed to happen.
According to CS Nahumicha, the National Treasury is this week expected to release 8.5 billion Kenyan shillings to be used for settling of the money hoard to hospital facilities.
This solution will not just come from the Ministry of Health. It will come from the whole of nation approach and the ministry being able to implement what will have been agreed on. I have also said that we expect a ruling from the court today. The mention is happening today. But the judge in his wisdom already ordered the doctors to suspend the strike. I want to plead with the doctors that if they respect the court orders and suspend the strike, they will create a very good environment of being listened to, and even the government also moving forward so that we meet somewhere with the doctors.
John Matava, Lookuptv.
But she hasn't expressly said, we're not going to pay. No. She hadn't spoken that. Completely. Whatever she's saying is that can they get off the street, come to the negotiating table, so that from there then we can iron out a deal with them. She is opening or offering an olive branch to the doctors in the country. But then, how do you make sense of those two statements? Over the other side, the president is saying, well, if you're sympathizing with them, you go pay them. For us, we're not going to pay. But the CS is saying, look here, we offered you a deal which you didn't like. Come back. We'll meet somewhere. Why can't the president speak in the same manner and tone that the CS is speaking with this morning? One. So when you look at the CS and listen to the CS and listen to the president, whose statement do you take home?
Simba, I think we all have to agree that what CS Nakumicha is doing is what we may term as a cat and mouse game with the doctors. I feel like Nakumicha has not taken this matter with the seriousness that it deserves, because the very first reason that made the doctors to go to the streets is because the 2017 CBA was not implemented. And you know, there are two ways of solving a problem. One, you can decide to do it the diplomatic way. Secondly, if the diplomatic way fails, then the Constitution gives us the right to go to the streets, to picket and demonstrate, to demand for our rights. And so the doctors are not in the streets because they love being on the streets. They're on the streets because the government has for many years ignored their request, and that is the 2017 CBA. And so the CS needs to take this matter with a lot of seriousness.
Yes.
Because
are you going to take a bit serious? I mean, aren't they supposed to be reading from the same script? So, I mean, it was yesterday when both of them spoke. The president over the other side is saying there's absolutely no money. In fact, let them stop being unreasonable. Get them back to work. The CS is saying we are open for negotiation. Come back. Let's talk. So whose statement are we taking home?
I think both the statements are just not correct, and they are not true. They are not authentic, and none of them means what they say. Because Simba, these are, for example, let's take the issue of the interns. These are students who have been in school, paying huge amounts of money in terms of fees. These are students who pay close to 700,000 per year. These are students who, when they have completed their 6 years, their total fee goes to close to millions, close to almost 6 million. And so what is stipulated in that 2017 CBA is not something that is unreasonable. I mean, chopping that amount that the the collar stipend,
yes,
from 206,000 to 70,000 is absolutely insane. And so I feel like the president has just decided to just look at this matter,
yes,
in just a light way, for lack of a better word, and likewise the CS.
Nick, here two government officials were speaking. One is the president. In a national forum, the president takes to the stage and says, look here, there's absolutely no money. In fact, if you're sympathizing with them, you go right ahead and pay them. We don't have that money. In fact, he addresses them directly and says, you're polished, well-educated individuals. Stop making unreasonable demands. One, yesterday. When this is happening, the CS Health, Nakumincha, speaking to the Senate, says, look here, it's not that we don't want to negotiate. We are in the process of negotiating. We gave them a deal. They refused. All we want is for them to get off the street, come back to the negotiating table. In fact, she's saying, she did assure the Senate that we will get a solution. I promise you, we're going to get a solution to this particular strike, and it's going to end. So whose statements are we taking home? Because the doctors come out of there and say, until we feel that our issues have been addressed, that's the only time we come off the street. CS Nakumincha says, we are going to deal with it. We're in the process of dealing with it. The president says, unreasonable. There is no money to pay. In fact, if you're sympathizing with them, you go get that money and pay them. Is the CS not sympathizing with the doctors in this particular situation, according to the president?
Well, I'm a worried man this morning, Simba, because two factions of the same executive board,
yes,
different venue. Nakumincha was reporting to the Senate. The Senate were doing an oversight of her ministry. And basically, she tells the Senate what the Senate wants to hear. I'm more worried because when your boss tells you you're not going to pay, he means it. I'm ought to believe what the president is saying rather than Nakumincha. That gets me worried because it means that the doctors are going to stay on the street longer. Because when your boss says, I'm not going to pay, no matter your junior position, you're not going to do anything. Now, Simba, the big question we're supposed to ask ourselves today, this morning, how did the doctors get to the street? Where was Nakumincha when they wanted to have that conversation? Nakumincha was very arrogant. She could not be told anything. She could not hear anybody. As a matter of fact, she's on record. She said that they will hire interns. You cannot hire an intern to do what those doctors are doing.
Yes.
Now we're in a situation whereby the situation is out of hand. Doctors are calling out the CS from her credentials, from her capacity as a CS,
yes,
from her delivery.
Yes.
Because if she really wanted to negotiate, as she seems, as she purports, as she's reporting to the Senate, they will have had that conversation earlier before. And because this is a government that campaigned on fake promises, that they will solve so many issues of Kenyans, from the plight of the common mwananchi to where they are right now. It is the common mwananchi that is suffering day in, day out. Because me and you, Simba, are waiting to receive medical attention. Not all of us can afford to go to private hospital.
Yes, sir.
Because these doctors, and I assure you, they are doing the common mwananchi a lot of service. Because if they at some point are not comfortable to work for the government, they can as well work for the private sector. But how many people of this country can afford to go to Aga Khan Hospital, to any sort of private hospital? The common mwananchi. it leaves us to ask this question, Simba, did we elect the right government? At some point, we have to say that Mr. Ruto must go.
Yes, but just one sec, 1 minute before I cross over to Hillary. I mean, if whatever she's saying is true, that hey, we gave them a deal, they didn't like it, they went back to the street. All we're saying is get off the street, come back to the negotiating table so that we could actually iron out these deals. If CS Nakumincha is right that the doctors have refused to go back to the negotiating table, is the president right to say what you're becoming unreasonable?
And the president is saying, Simba, there's no money. So what are they going to discuss on the table? Simba, your boss is saying there's no money. This is a tactic to lure the doctors
Who should
to the table.
Who should they listen to?
The president, because he's the boss.
Not the CS.
Not the CS. The president is saying there's no money. If you want to pay them, pay them. And the doctors already know that the president is not going to remove even a single dime. And that's why they're willing to stay longer and longer on the street. Simba. Remember, the president liked to say, mimi niko na watu wangu wa mkono. Nakumincha is mtu wa mkono wa the president. And the president is saying there's no money. And doctors are not agreeing to that statement.
Yes, pretty much. By the way, Paul, if you can, just in light of CS speaking something different that the president is also speaking about, you could give us a story for Mithika Linturi as well, because he's speaking in a different language from what the president is speaking this morning. When it's ready, just tell me so that we can play it this morning and talk about it as well in this light. You know what, Hillary? Yeah. So who is telling the truth here? Those are two different statements that are coming from these two officials, the public officials. Now the doctors are caught in between. CS Nakumincha is saying, come to the negotiating table, we're going to sit down and talk about this particular issue. We're not refusing. In fact, she goes ahead to promise that they'll get down to this issue and it's going to get solved and quicker than. But the president is saying, there is no money at all. If you have money this morning, you go right ahead and pay them. So if you are a doctor this morning, I want to put you in the shoes of a doctor who's listening to these two public officials. Whom are you going to listen to?
Yeah, thank you so much, Simba. So anyway, fellow gentlemen, last 2 weeks when I was here, my plea was that Nakumincha should come out and should speak and give direction.
And she has.
Now she has.
She has.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with that direction?
For me, I'm satisfied with her direction. Because why? Why the CS, she's in charge of the Ministry of Health.
Yes.
If she's the one who is in charge of the Ministry of Health, our president is in charge of the nation.
Yes.
But now, the fact that Nakumincha has said, the doctors, there is an opportunity that we can come on table and discuss. Only if you are able to get out of the streets, because it doesn't make sense. I don't see the legacy that these doctors are forming while they are on streets, because doctors are people who have gone to school, they are learning people. I don't want to see doctors on the streets. That time they are spending on the streets, please let them invest it doing something creative, because the common wananchi are suffering. But the president says there is no money. Now, I think there is a conflict of interest between the CS and the president.
Why would it exist? Who should be reading the script of the other? I mean, and I'm gonna put you in another situation this morning, because even as you keep on responding to that, there's a story that we've done of Mithika Linturi as well.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you what it is then this morning, because we did the story yesterday, because you're gonna come back to that as well, so that we see exactly what it is. Because one Mithika Linturi is actually saying there is no fake fertilizer in the Kenyan market. I'm still on you. Let's take a look at this story that Home Pretend actually did yesterday, then come back and also talk about it. Like when CS Nakumincha speaks and the president speaks, and Mithika Linturi speaks and the president speaks on it, are we caught in between? Is somebody somewhere doing the other person's job? Once we come back, let's take a look at this.
While on a tour of the Kilifi National Cereals and Produce Board Depot, Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi has urged farmers to pick subsidized fertilizers from various NCPB depots across the country to facilitate their planting activities. Linturi has in the same breath rubbished claims that fake fertilizer is in circulation in the country, terming the claims malicious and meant to taint the government's image.
Serikali inaweka njundi ya kuhakikisha kuna mbegu, kuna fertilizer.
watu wako waambie wakuja wachukue fertilizer, sababu fertilizer hapa. Waachane na hiyo story na propaganda ya watu ambaye hawataki wa Kenya waende mbele.
Linturi additionally picked issues with some leaders who are critical of President Ruto's efforts to reduce the cost of living through subsidized production, insisting Kenyans are now enjoying cheap maize flour thanks to the subsidy program.
Wakulima wetu turundi mashambani, tushalishe chakula, tuweze kuinjilisha kama taifa, tunjiondoe katika aibu hii ya kila wakati ni kuomba na kutegemea misaada. Na the only way ni sisi.
That's it. But what put you on that particular situation?
Yeah.
The president was also speaking on this particular issue.
Yeah.
Says all those farmers who bought that fertilizer, they should be reimbursed immediately. In fact, he said that he wants to move quickly in this particular area so that all those guys who sold that fertilizer to the farmers, they get apprehended. Well, the CS takes to the Senate, and he's on the very first time, appears in media interviews, goes on to say there is no fake fertilizer in the market. So, that's the CS saying there is no fake fertilizer in the market. The president is saying all those who bought that fertilizer have to be reimbursed, and we're going to make sure that we weed out those individuals. CS Nakumincha is saying, come back to the negotiating table, we're going to get a solution. The president is here saying there is no money. In fact, if you sympathize with them, you go right ahead and pay them. Hillary, hold on. Let's track this particular issue. The CS Health was given the responsibility of making sure that policy within the ministry is implemented. She failed at it. We got into a strike. The president sent in the head of public service to go in and help the CS. Head of public service comes out and says, it's tough. They reprimand the doctors. The president now weighs in on it. When you track this particular issue, the CS is speaking on it, the president is speaking on it, who should read the script of the other?
I think the president should read the script of the CS. Because, you know, at the same time, you know, like the CS are the people in charge on ground.
What's that?
The CSs are the people on ground. The president has a lot of roles to play. It should be that it is the CS who reports to the president. And the president weighs down what is happening.
Yes.
But now, in a situation whereby the president wants to know what is happening on ground more than the CS, then there is a problem.
Let's take a minute. Okay. Let him continue. Yes. Yes, Hillary.
On the issue of fertilizers. Now you see, like for the fertilizers, you know, the results have to be there. If a farmer used a fake fertilizer, the result has to be seen. There is no way a farmer would use a fake fertilizer and the germination itself would look differently. Now, if it has been satisfied that the germination was not as the farmers expected, then even the farmers themselves will claim the fertilizer is what? It's rogue.
If you give me a job today to oversee a particular ministry, and then I come out and say whatever it is that you're saying about my ministry is wrong. I mean, this is simply Medika Linturi saying whatever the president is saying is wrong. I mean, what will you do? Hillary, what will you do? If you, as a health CS today, Nakumincha, is at the Senate, within that period that you're saying, we are going to back to the negotiating table, we're going to get a solution. Somebody messages you and tells you, you know what the president is saying? They're not going to pay, they will not pay, so let the doctors get back to work. What would you do as a CS?
Now, just the way I had said earlier, I would like to say that it is not good always to rush into conclusion before looking for solution.
Yes.
Now, we need a solution. The president has to know, and he has to know, I repeat, he has to know
but the president
that we need a solution.
But the president is the overall boss. I mean, you like to think he'll pick a phone right now and call the CS Treasury and say, can you give me 142 billion that the doctors are demanding? If the Treasury is the CS Treasury says there's no money, the president will come in and say there's no money. So, who's lying? Is it Nakumincha or the president? There's two officials who are supposed to give a solution on this particular issue. I mean, Fiona, just before I cross over to Nick, it's the same thing that we've seen. Let me take you back to last year when the president was making the CSS sign their performance contracts. He came in and said, it's appalling that to some of you, I know better what goes on in your ministries than you do. Then send them back to do their homework. There's a lot of literature on your desks in those offices. You have a lot of assistants. Please go read, understand. A couple of months later, into 2024, this is CS Mithika Linturi who's saying there's no fix. Get to the bottom line of this issue that is in the country, the doctor strike. Both of them fail at it. I mean, they withdrew out of those negotiations. But yesterday, in fact, if you looked at the time the president was speaking, it was just a 1 hour difference. CS Nakumicha spoke at around 10, 11 thereof. The president was speaking at around 2 p.m. yesterday about this particular issue. How is it possible then that indeed both of them are reading from the different script?
Simba, we have to admit that it is very hard to defend a government that was built on lies. And that is why my colleague here, Hillary, is finding it hard. You know, my colleague here is a learned friend, a genius. But defending a government that was built on lies is so difficult. You know, the Kenya Kwanza government went out telling Kenyans, or rather giving them promises, that they had no idea of how they were going to implement them.
Yes.
We had the appointment of CSS, the cabinet secretaries, who are politicians. What happens when you put politicians in office? There's what we call propaganda, or rather PR. And that is what we are seeing in the media.
Yes.
That is what we are seeing the CSS doing. They are giving Kenyans propaganda. They are giving us what is popular. They are telling us lies outrightly. But Kenyans are learned, Simba. People are seeing. People have opened their eyes.
Yes.
It is insane for a CS to come to the public and tell the citizens, or rather tell Wanjiko, that farmer in Nyandarua, that there is no fake fertilizer. When that farmer himself opened that bag and found mavi ya kuku and mixed with sand,
yes,
it is insane. It is taking Kenyans on a ride. It is disrespecting the very same voters who put you in office to go and make their lives better.
Nick, same question. I'll start like this. The same question that I gave Hillary, but you read away from me.
I sympathize with Hillary.
Here's the thing. I mean, you're the president.
Yes.
Good. And so you like for the rest of your cabinet secretaries to mirror what it is that you're doing in the government. So what will you do if over the other side you're saying those guys who sold that substandard or fake fertilizer, or fertilizer doesn't meet the standards, are going to go home and they're going to get arrested and charged on corruption charges? But your CS comes on and says, who says there's fake fertilizer in the market? Who gives you the right to declare the fertilizer in the market fake? Give me more time. There's an issue that you and I cannot understand. But guess what? I mean, your president also comes from the agriculture background. We do know that the president started in botany, isn't it? So when he speaks, shouldn't you listen?
You know, I sympathize with my good friend Hillary. I had cautioned him defending this government. Hillary is saying something that the CS, the president needs to listen to his CS.
Yes.
However, he's probably is informed that the president receives intelligence every single morning. And he's on record that he said on national television that some of his CS actually don't know whatever is happening in the ministry. And we are seriously seeing it. But I am not sympathizing with the president. That is what happens when you appoint incompetent public servants. Just the other week, Simba, the president took, let me say, he took a flight to his home county, was in Gishu. The NCPB board. He spent the whole afternoon there. His own people are complaining, are crying out loud that the CS is applying fake fertilizer. As a matter of fact, this is donkey feces mixed with sand. And now we are seeing that Mythical Inturi is on record saying that the president is a liar. And that tells you what? That Mythical Inturi na Kumincha need to go. Simba, in mature democracy, if a CS or a minister is incompetent, they resign. It tells you a lot that a lot of money is lost in the Ministry of Agriculture. My good friend is just very shy to say it. But he knows that where I come from, me and Thiongo, our people heavily depend on agriculture.
True.
And this government knows it. It is very sad that we are having very incompetent cabinet secretaries who are misinformed, who I don't know, they don't read intelligence reports. Because how do you explain the president is early in the morning, he is saying that there is no money, in the afternoon in the Senate they are saying there is money. It tells you clearly that this CS is totally ignorant. He does not read, he does not even watch news. Simba, and I repeat, this is the plight of electing leaders who give fake promises, who lied to Kenyans. Kenyans, we are suffering right now from an incompetent leader. We might take the blows and blame Mythical Inturi and CS Nakumincha. But at the end of the day, their boss is more incompetent. Because how on earth will he allow it that he has the CS, Mythical Inturi, just the other week, he went to a visit just to see what the people are saying. And this week, the CS comes in and say, you know what? The president was just doing a public visit. This was just a trip for him. It is very sad because people, even where he comes from, are farmers. And they're getting angry. Recently, we've seen a video on so many places, TikTok, Nini. There's a man, I think he's from Samburu. Right now, where there are so many issues that even we cannot discuss the issues of security. We cannot even discuss that this government ought to take people in Haiti, yet there are people dying in North Rift. Yet you have an inspector general saying that doctors coming out on the street is unreasonable. We, the people of Azimio, came out the other day. We were labeled violent, we were labeled watu wa sufuria. Today doctors are not even being violent. But what is the president saying? There's no money. So it tells you that there's no problem with demonstration. There's no problem with maandamano. Definitely there's a problem with this government. Right from the top, simple. And we cannot wait because Article 1 of the Constitution, we know that sovereignty belongs to the people. On the ballot, come 2027, we are saying, especially we the people of the mountain, Ruto must go. He must go. Because we cannot suffer the more taxes, extremely punitive taxes. Yet, he's on record saying there's no money. So where is this money going? We are taking loans, Simba. He's traveling all over this country, right? Recently, we saw this meme that there's this guy who was running. Then he saw the Chinese coming in. He then remembered that we took a loan from the China. So he had to allow the Chinese guy win because he knew if he went back home, angeambia wewe kijana unajua tumekosea Wale watu tuko na dini yao. So we're even scared as a nation, because day in we have a leader who's totally arrogant, and we are surviving by prayers. We've seen, oh, Simba, it's a very sad state that we are in. The First Lady says that Uganda are not using fertilizers. They are surviving on prayers. Come on, Simba. All of us, I think we know the Bible. The Bible says it's very clearly that God blesses the work of our hands. So this government is expecting us to pray from in the morning, lunchtime, and at night. And that's why you see my good friend Hillary, rather, is having a difficult time defending this government. Because he knows clearly that there is no place for this government. This is a man who thought, because it's not that the president is new in this government. He spent 10 years. But what was he doing while my boss was the president? He was busy campaigning for 2022.
Yes.
Now 2022, he's on the seat. From blunder to blunder, from mistakes to mistakes. And because his, let me say, golden goose project is the housing levy, and I assure you, Simba, we will be here discussing about where the money went. Because he's on record. He's on record. There's so many cases that he himself, he's saying that, that he needs to, the leaders who are corrupt will be fired.
That's all.
But he knows very clearly that he cannot do that. Simba, I assure you, this government will go.
Hillary, just put it into perspective.
Yes.
So what would a CS do if the president has already pronounced himself on a duty or a job that is bestowed to the CS? What would you like CS Nakumincha to do now? Should she come out today and change her statements from yesterday and say, I thought we had a solution for the doctors, but as you could hear yesterday from the wage bill conference at the Bomas of Kenya, we have no money. So doctors, I'm going to second what the president has said. Please get back to work. That's it. We have no solution for you. Does it negate every other thing the CS Nakumincha said yesterday? Because put you in the shoes of the CS, because we listened to you and she was in the Senate. At the Senate, that is where Kenyans know the truth. That's why Kenyans listen to their leaders get interrogated on the solutions that are coming up for their various ministries. Yeah. So if she said there is a solution in the works, we are going to solve it. But then the president comes in and says, those doctors are unreasonable, there is no money, and if you sympathize with them, you pay them. I don't have money currently as is as a president. Should the CS come out today and say, I do apologize, I was misled yesterday, my boss has spoken, has said there's absolutely no money, so status quo stays. Get back to work.
Oh, actually, I would love to say she should not recall her words, because she was in the Senate, and
Why not?
What she said.
Why not? I mean, your boss is waiting. Your boss is waiting on our issue.
No, there is a moment whereby the bosses also remain their bosses, and you become your own boss.
What's that? But hold on. But on money issues, Hillary, I gotta listen. On money issues,
I am the CS.
What's that? You're the CS, isn't
Yes.
it? Isn't it? And the president sent you the head of public service to come in and help you.
Yeah.
All right. The head of public service pulled out. Yeah. You pulled out. The doctors pulled out. Yeah. President comes in and says, well, that's what it is. There's no money. So what gives you the audacity to go back to the Senate and say, we're going to get a solution, we'll keep on negotiating? Can't you say what your president has said? As you can hear, my boss has said there's absolutely no money in this company. So come back to work.
Yes, I will still insist, and I will tell my fellow friends that this government is not going anywhere. This government is here to stay. This government is here to stay. And as I come back to the question, I would just love to say, Nakumincha had already spoke.
Does it?
She spoke and she said there is a solution.
Does it?
What is always there and what I said categorically is just we need a solution.
Does it? But
in order to move
Hillary,
softly.
Who is going to give us this solution?
Now, who is going to give us this solution? That is the bigger question. Our friends from the azimio team feel like this government is a failure, but it's not.
Just hold on before speaking about what the azimio government thinks on this particular issue, because an issue that's getting handled by the Kenya Kwanza government.
Yes.
But there's already a conflict here. There is a solution, according to CS Nakumincha. The president is saying there's no solution. So what, Hillary? So what?
For me, I will say there is always a solution. For everything in life, there is a solution. So the president should it's the president who should recall and just say, Maze, it's time, I've seen, and him himself, he campaigned and he said, yeye ni mtu ambaye anatetea watu wote, na yeye ni mtu wa watu wote, si ndio? Sasa there is no way he would come today because doctors are on the streets. There is no way he will sit in the state house that is renovated. Anyway, I see these guys are jealous about the renovation of the state house, but that is an investment that is there for the entire generations. One day, if you get into the state house, you renovate that state house better. So doctors on the streets. It is not something that is pleasing because people are suffering. And I would also like to say the president should also have some courtesy of feeling mercy because it is the people who voted for him who are suffering. Yes. Now he should at least look into the solution, come to the table, talk to the doctors, and let us talk this thing. Let these headlines of doctors on strike end.
Yeah. Just one thing. We have 3 minutes left for this one. Just before we go on a break, I'm going to put you the same question. If you're the president and you say there's no money, and wherever you're standing, you are standing in a conference that's talking about the wage bill. So every other Kenyan who's watching you, and even the doctors who are watching, I mean, it came at the right moment. This conference at the Bomas of Kenya that was talking about the wage bill. It came at the right moment. All the stakeholders that are involved in the remuneration of the doctors were there. SRC was there. Council of Governors was well represented by a COG and my guru. And then the president stands in front of you and tells you, there is no money. Speaking to the county bosses who pay the doctors' salaries. Speaking to the SRC that comes up with the wage structure for the public sector in this country. And then you as a CS, prior to that, you already made remarks about how there's going to be a solution. Take a minute. As a CS who's appointed by your boss, and then your boss makes a declaration on an issue, what is your next response as a CS?
Simba, I think Nakumincha should just come out clear and tell Kenyans and tell the doctors that indeed there's no money, as the president claimed. What my friend Hillary is refusing to agree on is the president is the final boss. You cannot say that in a setup of a high school that the head of department, let's say for English, can make a decision that supersedes the decision of the principal.
Yes.
That cannot happen. The president is the final boss. And when the president says there's no money, there is no way a CS is going to claim that there's money. Both these individuals are just lying to us, to put it in a plain manner.
Yes. Thiongo, we'll be coming back to you after this break. Nick, take a minute, because that's exactly what we have. The president pronounces himself, and I'm putting this question in respect to Mithika Linturi and CS Nakumincha. President says, we are going to get those individuals who sold fake fertilizer, and I promise you they will be brought to the book. I'd like to think the president is well informed. He's got intelligence more than a CS. Like to think, but that's the reality on the ground as well. That when he speaks on an issue, he is well informed. And if you saw that particular brief that he did in the Rift Valley part of the country,
Yes.
I was speaking to a group of farmers. He told me there was only one company that the fertilizer has become a problem, but I promise you, we are going to solve it, and quicker that. Good. But CS Linturi comes in and says, in front of the Senate as well, sorry, in the National House, comes and says, there is no fake fertilizer. It's an issue that has to be dealt with the experts in this country. You and I can't stand up and say there's fake fertilizer in the country. Sort of says, why they're not reading from the same script. CS Nakuminja says there's a solution. We're going to keep on negotiating. President stands in and says, there's no money. Absolutely. In this respect, as a president, when you turn around and you get told, you see what you see as he's saying, it's completely different from whatever it is that you're saying. What would you do? Take a minute. We take a break, come back and talk about other issues this morning.
I know the president is in a dilemma because he's trying to balance his issue as the head of state and a politician. Because he's worried that if he fires Linturi, what are the people of Meru going to say? Am I going to get re-elected by the people of Meru?
Yes.
Susan Nakumincha comes from the Western region.
Yes.
And Western leaders are eagerly waiting to see what they're going to do to their daughter.
That's it.
But I'm going to tell the president he needs to fire the incompetent people. Because at the end of the day, it's the common mwananchi that put him into office.
Yes.
He rode on fake promises.
Yes.
That it's almost 24 months later.
That's it.
After his election or swearing in, we still cannot see any relief as Kenyans.
Pretty much. Nick, I want you to stop there. Now, gentlemen, we're going to go on a break like this. The National Assembly Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations rejected President William Ruto as nominee for the Council General in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The name for the gentleman is called Charles Githinji Keiru. Hold on. On this basis, 1, lack of requisite qualities, knowledge, abilities, and experience. Just what the president is saying then. Any other public service servant in the country without proper qualification, we're going to come for you. Got to give us some money that you've been paid over the years. And if you don't come for us, if you don't offer to surrender, we're going to come for you. But then, is it leading by example? I mean, Nick, if you nominate anybody for a job, what is it that you do first? Once we come back right here on the Morning Brief, because that opens a Pandora box. Or, if you know very well that there's somebody in a particular state department who's not qualified, should you go for that person or the appointing authority? Once we come back.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today. Or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke. University of Nairobi is a distinguished institution of higher learning dedicated to nurturing your intellectual curiosity and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. From state-of-the-art laboratories to modern libraries equipped with the latest resources, we provide you with the tools you need to succeed. Choose from a wide range of programs designed to prepare you for challenges of tomorrow's world. Whether in STEM, humanities, business or the arts, our strong industry connections and career service support will help you translate your education into meaningful career opportunities upon graduation. Join a vibrant community of scholars from around the world, fostering cultural exchange, collaboration, and lifelong friendships. Book your space now for September intakes. Log in to https://www.uonbi.ac.ke for a wide range of courses to choose from. You can also contact +254 020 491 0000 or email us at pr@ounbi.ac.ke.
Jamaa jo, mazena inflation jo na hii mafuta venye mepanda jo, mmefika at the right time. Mimi nakwambia wachezaji saa hizi tu ni kutoka hapa, kuingia mtaa, kutengeneza sima, wadishifiti, alafu tutane grau.
Leo tuko katika center inaitwa Kimta, ambapo hapa ni sehemu ambapo wanafunzi ama vijana wadogo wanakuja hapa kusoma, wanakuja hapa kukuza talanta yao, na wanakuja pia kujiinua kielimu.
Now through Kimta and the groups like Tatua Tatu, through pads, wasichana wataendelea kuendea shule vizuri, at the same time watakuwa healthy.
Yote ni kwa hisani ya Tatua Foundation. Na wakati wote ambapo unacheza Tatua Tatu, kumbuka kwamba 25% inakuja kusaidia masuala kama haya. Kwa hivyo endelea kucheza Tatua Tatu.
Buy Credo Chap Chap across all networks bila stress. Go to M-Pesa paybill number 33000 na uweke account number yako na namba ya simu that you want to recharge. It's quick, convenient and hassle-free. In just a few clicks, buy airtime. M-Pesa paybill 33000. Account, your number to stay topped up and connected anytime, anywhere. Chap Chap. Next on Hapa Kazi Tu.
Leo tunaangazia biashara ya picha, photography.
Ndio nishike kamera yangu ya kwanza, nilikuwa nimeenda studio kupigwa passport. Ukiwa na passion utajua. Hii nataka tu kuwa na passion na patient sana ujue kudeal na client. Unajua utakuletwa client, all the type of client. Basi vile tulikuwa tunasema ati utakuja studio jua una nguo. We got you. Ziko.
Hapa kazi tu.
Lazima like uanze studio na kila kitu. Kamera na unajua kupiga picha na unajua setting, you are good to go. Yeah.
Hapa Kazi Tu, every Friday at 8 p.m.
I'll go back to how we ended it. It's a story that we've done on lookuptv.co.ke. And National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations rejected President William Ruto's nominee for Consul General in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Charles Yevenji Keiru. They said he lacked requisite qualities, knowledge, abilities, and experience. Let's take a look at what the president said.
We will now confront the monster of corruption head-on going forward. Whether it is in counties, whether it is in the national government, those who have earned money using fake certificates should refund us our public money.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
That's it. It's that simple. So he's saying, if you are employed in civil service and you've got fake papers coming for you, if you don't surrender, they'll still come for you, because now they come up with a portal that is essentially going to give us who and where you work as a civil servant, that is going to link you up to the school that you came from, that once you hit it, you will see these are the qualifications of this particular individual, just like indicated on the dailies this morning, both on the Daily Nation and the Standard. Let's begin it like this then. Now start with you, Thiongo. If he's serious about this particular issue, you think that's total corruption, why would he nominate Mr. Githinji to be the DRC consul? But when he goes in front of a parliamentary committee, they realize that when it comes to the papers that he needs to get this job, he doesn't have them. When it comes to the experience that he needs for this job, he doesn't have them. When it comes to the requisite abilities, he doesn't have them. But then he turns around and says, any other person who does this, we're going to get you. Double speak?
Yeah, it's outrightly clear that it is double speak. And our president is very good at that. We know him for that. We have very many occasions where he has said this and done the exact opposite. But Simba, let us ask ourselves this question. How do the appointments in government happen? And let me walk you through how it happens.
Yes.
We have politicians and our leaders campaigning, and Wanjiko elects them and they get into office. But then in that process of the campaign period, we have people who support the campaign trail.
Yes.
We have people who support the campaign trail with finances, with vehicles, with all kinds of support. And those are the people who are given these positions once a president or a government gets into office.
Yes,
and that is where we get it wrong, Simba. And that is how these unqualified individuals have found themselves in these offices. Because we have an individual who has a very heavy pocket out here, but is a Form 4 dropout, who supported, let's say, for example, the Kenya Kwanza government. There's what we call rewarding loyalty in politics. And so you find that this guy put in a lot of money in the campaigns, and he's given the position. Whether he's qualified or not, it doesn't matter. It is always about who supported where and with how much is what dictates the kind of position that you get, which is rather unfortunate. And it is so sad. And that is why we are having all these people who are in government offices doing shoddy work because they are not qualified. The other day we saw Charles Githinji. Is Charles Githinji? Asked a very simple question. What is GDP? And then he's just fumbling there, saying that G stands for growth. Since when? Which economics is that? You know, it is quite unfortunate that we have such people in offices.
Yes.
And what the president is doing in the media is just hot air. It is just the popular opinion. It is just for the public to consume. But there is nothing that he's going to do.
Yes.
This matter is just going to sink, and sooner or later we're going to forget about it. And that is why we had the truthful man, Rigiji, our deputy president. And for the first time I agree with him that it is going to be very difficult to deal with this matter. That is Rigiji. That is what Rigiji was saying. It is going to be very difficult to deal with this matter. And Rigiji went ahead and told the president, I don't know who is going to help you. You know, he knows very well that it is very difficult. Even he himself, he cannot do that. He doesn't know who is going to help the president to do that.
Yes.
Because those who have fake papers are the same people who are in the cabinet, are the very same people who are CSs, are the very same people who are close friends of the president, are the same people who the president expect that they're going to support the 2027 campaign. So how does the president fire such people? What we are seeing the president saying is just hot air. It is hot air, Simba.
Does it? Nick, you know, this event just come days after the public embarrassment of one Githinji in the National Assembly. It's a direct nomination of the president. It's a proper job. You're representing the country in a different state. So when people see you, they see Kenya and what you represent as a country. And they have to look for a different one now because that nomination for the president failed when they realized that he doesn't have the experience, the purpose, and the qualities. Now, I'm going to point you out to what he said. He said, give me this job. After you give me this job, I'll go back to school and I will learn on it. That's exactly, he said it on national television. Once I get this job, I'll go back to school and I'll learn on it. Look like a man who, once the president nominates you, chances are, like we've seen it in this country, you don't fail on these particular issues, especially for ambassadorial responsibilities. Because the president has meticulously looked at you and said, it represents what I want people to see in that particular country. But then, boom, no purpose, one area. Is that an embarrassment to the president? Number two as well. Yes, there are people with fake academic papers in majority of the state offices in the country. Who should they go for? Should they go for these people or go for the appointing authority? Whomever put them in these offices should be the one who should be responsible for this particular issue. And Guinea Cameroon, number three as well, he said they're coming for that money. How?
Simba, when I look at what the president did to Charles Githinji, I sympathize because he played politics 101. He knew that Charles Githinji was going to fail on arrival. He knew it.
Hold on. Is that the perspective now?
He knew it. And you see, you have to clearly look at it on this aspect, Simba.
Yes.
Charles Githinji represents the mountain region. And who is most likely to nominate Charles Githinji between the president and the deputy president? So this is a game of regional politics. He knows very well that for me to put state officers, I have to put men I trust.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to his backyard where he's coming from, Simba, there are only few leaders. As a matter of fact, he's only one, and he's on record, Oscar Sudi, who has no papers. But go to state departments, the men that he puts there, professors, doctors. So he knew it. He knew that this card, the moment I play this card, is going to fail. So I need to put my own person to represent DRC. Because DRC, as a matter of fact, is a hot cake in the conversation of East and Central Africa. Mm-hmm. He knew it. To put a man like Charles Githinji coming from the mountain region, he will not fulfill what he wanted to fulfill. So he allowed it for him to go and fail. As I said, the president receives intelligence every single day. So this is a man that played Charles like a boy. He went in a game of men, but went away like a state dog.
Why would Charles go?
And that is very sad because
you've got an interview to fail.
It's very sad. Now the people of Mount Kenya are realizing that this guy is playing them to a fool. Why will he allow to embarrass us, people of the mountain? Yet we contributed 65% of his votes. Votes that even in his own backyard that did not produce. This is a scheme that he's trying to use to create a deep state, to make sure when he loses in 2027, he has already created a system. I know my good friend Hillary is not going to agree. But how governments are formed, you enable your tribalismen in different and key areas so that you control the government in a long time. And he's on record. And we've seen some leaders say that he should go for 25 years. Very unconstitutional statement. Very sad statements. I only sympathize with Charles Kidinji because he's a senior citizen of this country. But I want to challenge our people, because this is a shame to the office of the Deputy President. And I know the Deputy President tried to pull that card that who's going to help the President. But the President was telling him, who's going to help you? Because I have my dogs all over. I know it is very serious for him, the Deputy President, because there's this young man called Samson Dindi Nyoro from Kiharu. He keeps him on toes each and every single day. That's why we are seeing the Deputy President going to drama festival, meeting a few young leaders here and there, just to try and play that card. But this is an issue of regional politics, right from what is happening to Western region with Natembeya and Wetangula. It's also a scheme to divide us here in Mount Kenya. And we know the simplest way to get the conversation going is when people are split. Right now, what is focused on, not just the papers, because he knows where laws are made in Parliament. Do you need papers? No. Where laws are implemented, the executive. Who are smart people that need to be put there? Our people. And it's very sad state that our country, we are going into that direction. Because for us to have competent people with service delivery, then we must put people with the right and qualified academic. For us to talk about the health crisis, we must have a doctor there who understands the needs and requirements of a doctor. For us to require good fertilizer, the basic things that the president is ignoring, we must put someone with the right skill. Because if someone wakes up in the morning and say there's no fake fertilizer, yet farmers have confirmed there's a fake fertilizer, it's the same guy, Mithika Linturi, who had the same issues of papers when he was defending his job.
By the way, he said must have burnt in the house.
Yes, he's on record.
Can't locate them.
He's on record. And it's the president, to some extent, he's trying to embarrass us, we the people of the mountain. He's trying to tell us, you people go to school. And you know, Richard, what the president seems to forget, you cannot pickpocket a naked man, no matter how hard you try. We might appear right now to be naked, but I assure you, we'll get those clothes come 2027.
That's it. I'll be coming back to you on whether that's the right strategy to fight corruption in state departments. Here's the thing, Hillary.
Yeah.
You take the same perspective that at a time when the president is talking tough about lack of qualifications in state departments and in public officials, goes ahead to nominate a man with no papers, no qualities, no qualifications at all, and sends him to National Assembly to be vetted, to be appointed as a DRC council.
Yes, so my fellow friends from the mountain, you just said that the president is trying to say people from the mountain, you should go to school. Anyway, that one is you are always businessmen, but at least nowadays the people from the mountain are coming in light to at least appreciate the value of education as people from the lakeside. People from the lakeside will value education. So that one is a thumbs up to Fike Shule. Yeah, so on that note, it is quite political at the same time. Actually, it is political. And just as my fellow Lion Fred has said, it is the president have played a trick of regional politics, whereby people from the western and from the people from the mountain are like feeling like they are embarrassed because the person who was presented didn't have the qualification to merit so that to have such a particular job. But just as you see, the president speaks this and the deputy president says this. So there is a possibility also that the deputy president also felt like this was the right person who ought to have occupied this position. And also the president said, oh, it's okay, you've said this person merits. Now let us put this person to test. But they put the person to test and the person couldn't, and he never merited. So I would love to say, also, it is politics. This is politics. Na hii ni siasa wa jamaa. Tutapanga na tutatenda. Thanks.
Does it?
Yeah.
Now let's then go to the second part of the conversation. President comes in and says, we're going to fight corruption in this state offices head on. He goes ahead to say, any other person who has been employed on fake papers, surrender now. But as you surrender, we're going to make sure that all the salaries that you've been paid while serving that particular position on fake papers, we're going to get it back. Is that the right way to go? Should it go for these people being employed in the state offices, or go for the appointing authority, whomever put them in his offices? Who's to blame here?
I think the first people to go for the appointing authorities, because that is the channel these incompetent guys are used to get into these offices.
Yes.
Those are the first people they need to go for. Secondly, they need to go to for the incompetent guys who are in these offices, because these are the guys who are creating the messes that we have in this country. And yeah, that's basically what needs to happen.
Does that?
Yeah.
But when he says we're going to come for our salaries, are we looking at jail terms for people who've been employed on fake certificates? Because you would imagine if somebody was employed for 10, 15 years or 20 years in a state office, you're looking at millions in terms of the salaries you've been paid.
Yeah, you see, Simba, ideally that is what should happen. Ideally, if you look at it in terms of morality and the right way to do things, that is what should happen. But like I've told you, what the president is doing, the statements that he's putting to the public,
yes,
are just hot air. Are just hot air. The president doesn't mean whatever he's saying, and I can assure you that this matter is just going to sink, and we are going to forget about this matter.
What gives you that view that he doesn't mean what he says? Because if you look at the plan for the government, is that by 2025, all public servants are going to be paid from a common portal in the country. This portal is quite complex in the sense that it's going to reflect the names of the people that are getting paid, and then in this, you are easily able to match this person's academic qualifications to the schools that they went to. That will be quite easy then to go back and say that this particular individual works for the government, actually has this particular qualifications, and these are the institutions they went to.
You know, Simba, you cannot purport that you want to fight corruption when you yourself, you've been accused of very many cases. When it is on record that the very person who wants to fight corruption is corrupt himself. I mean, how do you clean the public, the system, when you yourself is corrupt. That is what gives me that view, that the president doesn't mean whatever he's saying, simply because he himself is corrupt to begin with. We have had very many cases, very many cases, very many cases that tie the president on matters corruption. And so how do we believe that now he's a changed man and now he wants to clean everything?
Nick,
yes.
In that particular conference, it goes right ahead to say, he knows there's a lot of public wastage, there's a lot of pilferage in this particular state department, and then he declares that now, henceforth, it's going to be war, head-on, for any other corrupt individual within the government.
Simba, I'm torn whether to believe the president or not, because the Standard printed an article on the 25th of July, 2023. The former Kemri boss, David Koech. David Koech was jailed up to 6 years for acquisition of 19.6 million public property. Now the president's moves forward to issue a pardon. This is a man who was jailed for 6 years. 1 year or just few months in office, the president decides to do what? To pardon a man from his backyard. So is he really serious on fighting the issue of corruption? It is on record that the court sentenced 6 years to one man called David Koech, a former boss of Kemri. Is it that his fight of corruption is regional? There are people who are going to be axed, or there are people who are going to survive. However, since we know that the agencies that Simba are set for investigating matters or issues of corruption, the EACC, I think this is the moment that we need to have the conversation. How do we empower such bodies?
Yes.
Because the other side today, former Moranga boss, Mwangi wa Iria, he's facing a 140 million corruption case. Is it because that Mwangi wa Iria is from Azimio? And we think it is, because since we know that Mwangi Iria is going to be a man uniting the people of the mountain, then he needs to be corrupt. What happened to his senator of Uasin Gishu, the issue of education? Jackson Mandago. It is very quiet. Should Senator Jackson Mandago resign? If he's really serious on the issue of fighting corruption, then he should start at his backyard.
Yes.
Because Mandago is on record of losing millions and money for education when he was a governor. Where is that court? Where is that case right now? It's not in court. The EACC are not doing their job. So one wants to wonder, is this fight against corruption based on regional politics? Is he willing to ensure that the people of the mountain or the people of the western region or the people of the coastal region don't come together so that he's axed out of office come 2027? Or is it a coercion method to bring them on the table and tell them, look, you have a corruption case. If you either choose to support me or you go to jail. Because we know and we are confident that the power that he wields, he can persuade the EACC to take these court cases in court. This is the chance that the president needs to do to empower the courts, the third arm of the government, the judiciary. We have looming of cases in our court cases, in our courts. Is it the time to increase the budget so that the courts fasten the process of corruption cases? But he's seriously talking about leaders from specific regions who need to either get fired or go to jail. I want to challenge the president this morning. If he is really serious about the issue of corruption, let him start at his home backyard.
Hillary, somebody looked back at how we formed the current cabinet that we do have in place. The majority of those the ladies and gentlemen in it had heavy corruption cases on their heads, or on their backs. Some of them had cases of even murder against them. In fact, it was quite a hot issue, to the point that later on we had agencies that were writing to the DCI and the Director of Public Prosecutions to explain how majority of those cases were dropped. But then, that be it, and you're going to respond to that, from one who says we're going to face corruption head on, that even his biggest allies from the previous administrations who had corruption cases on their heads, case in point, former Treasury Cabinet Secretary or Teach, that even when you want to disassociate yourself with any other person who's been tainted previously, they are offered jobs at the State House as well. That to date, you can't say that we've seen many arrests from a man who's quite aware that there's a lot of wastage and pilferage in the government. I mean, you can go back to 1963, 1965, 1968, Hillary. Yeah. You'll find the first president of the Republic of Kenya speaking about these issues. Corruption. Moi speaks about it. Uhuru Kenyatta speaks about it. Mwai Kibaki speaks about it. Now we have Dr. President William Ruto speaking about it the same way. In fact, you see this headline about we'll face corruption head on. You'll type it on Google and you'll find headlines as many as you can. So what is different? What is different, Hillary?
Now, for me, I'm a student of ethics at one moment back there. So in ethics, there is something called ethical relativism. And an aspect of ethical relativism says that an individual is able to do an act that is deemed to be wrong, but it gives an alternative that is going to create a better good in the future. Now, the president, you having asked as to why the cabinet might have incompetent people who are appointed, and they, in the past, they had cases that showed that they had corruption, right? Yeah, so the past is in the past, and the new is here. The people change, yeah, and I'm also a student of criminology, and in the criminality world, we say that people are able to reform. The main objective of the Department of Prison is to at least change people and become better, so that they can be back and readmitted and accepted into the society. So these are people who did wrong, and either they were punished, or at least they realized that this was wrong, but they have come back to light to show that at least they're still responsible Kenyan citizens. Now, the president has spoke, and he's on record, and he said that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and also the DCI should be on board, and they should ensure that people who have fake certificates should be looked, and those funds that have been remitted to them in the previous years should be returned back to the government. That is where there is a challenge, because these people whom have been, there are those who are able to return the funds back to the government, but there are people who are not capable. Now my question and my worry to the president, what is going to happen to these people who are not able to pay back?
Shouldn't we be getting that answer from you? So do you support that move? Hillary, but that's the question we asked.
He's asking his own government.
Hillary, that's the question. That's the question that we asked. So what? If they're not able, so what?
That means a solution has to be found. Yeah.
I like the way Hillary this morning has been. And a solution has to be found.
Yes.
Nothing more than that. A solution has to be found. But every time we ask, who's going to give us the solution? There's the government in place. That's it. Who should be taking responsibility? And I asked Fiona the same question. So, are you going for these people, or should you go for the appointing authorities of these particular individuals in these offices?
You know, when you talk about the appointing authorities, it's logically it's the appointing authorities, because they are the people who have a process that should show us that this is the process by which we have appointed this particular person or this particular individuals to perform this particular functions. But you find that as you go for the appointing authorities, there are people who are put in office, and those who put them in office, they no longer exist. Let's say, for example, the SG Francis Atwoli. He has existed in that office for quite a long time, and he was a staunch supporter of the Azimio guys, but today he's calm, and he doesn't speak a lot of euphoria the way he used to speak. But nowadays, I love the way he's calm. Now, the person who appointed, the appointing authorities that in the system that made him become the SG, I don't think today you will backtrace, and I'm not sure, or I will not say that by then, by the time he was appointed, his papers were well analyzed, and there were records that showed that this particular person merited for this job.
That's right. Yeah. Theo, that's the question. How easy is it going to be for the president to achieve this? How easy it is, because he's already declared exactly what he wants, that all the other people, all the other persons that are employed in these offices are going to go home and remit back those salaries. How easy it is, because when it speaks about it, it spreads fear within the public service sector, because every other person now on fake papers knows they are coming for me. How easy it is?
It's not going to be easy at all. In fact, it is going to be very hard for the president to actualize whatever he intends to do with matters corruption.
Fiona, but we want to put you on the spot as well.
Yes.
Why would it be hard?
This is why it's going to be hard.
It's either you have the papers or not. Case in point, if we decide to do an audit of all the people that we have in this public service, it's not going to be hard. I mean, it is doing an audit from department to department, or you will say that within the next 1 year, we're doing an audit of all the papers of all the employees that we have in this department.
Simba, as my colleague Nick put it earlier on, we have appointments based on regions, appointments based on loyalty, and very many other scenarios in matters appointments. The reason why I'm saying it's going to be very hard is because suppose we have an individual from let's say Western, or rather quite a number of individuals from Western, just to give an example, who are not qualified. And these guys are quite influential in their backyard. The president is going to find it very hard to discipline these guys. All this is just politics. It is basically politics. It is just speaking so that mwananchi can be happy.
Yes.
But in real sense, even the president knows that this thing is not as easy as A, B, C.
Here's Nick, just picking up on where Theo has left it. here's what one governor, and we didn't know what happened to that particular exercise. One governor called Simbarati, the man who came in with a lot of pump and a oomph, said, I'm going to sort out all these particular messes that we're talking about, corruption within the county service sector. So he said, there's a PSA tomorrow. Every other worker within this county, let's meet at the Kisii Sports Stadium. Carry your papers. If your driver stand in front of, come with your vehicle. If you're sweeper, if you're cleaner, please come with your papers. And I want to see you in our records. Went to his secretaries. They printed out every other worker within the Kisii County government. Well, he paraded them and said, call out name after them, give me your papers. He did a proper exercise that essentially showed who was qualified, who was not. Found that one vehicle had, let's say, 7 drivers. Some of them don't even know how to drive, but they're registered as drivers within the county government. That it's very possible for you as a government to weed out people with fake papers, because we've seen it happen in these counties. Like Simbarati has shown us that it's actually possible. You can go right ahead and do a proper audit should you decide that that's the direction they're going to take. But now the president here tells us, well, I'm not going to go to the physical audit. No, that every other employee within this particular government is going to be in a general portal. It's calling it the payments to the Human Resource Information System by June 30th, 2025. That every other name is going to appear. Then it's very possible to actually weed out these people who've not gone to schools or not correctly qualified to be in these particular positions. That it's possible. That, Nick, you say it's not possible, that with what we know, leveraging on technology, leveraging on available systems within the government, that's quite possible to say Simba doesn't have a degree.
I want to agree totally with you, Simba, because your namesake Simba seems to be doing a lot of a good job there in Kisii government.
Yeah, that guy stole my name, but yeah, stole my name. Anyway,
and you see, in mature democracies, with good systems put in place, ensures good leadership, ensures that people get good services and delivery. But it saddens me today that Simba Arati, the vice chair of ODM party and the governor of Kisii County, he puts up a good effort to fight corruption. Today, he suffers and embattles the DCI. The DCI raids and the police, they raid in his office in Kisii. Recently, just the other day here, he's your neighbor here.
Yes.
His office was raided.
Yes.
By the fact that this is a leader who seems to be working for the Kisii people. But the president is not happy. So what mechanism can I use to make sure I destabilize Simba Arati? Let me look for a case for him. So that in the eyes of the public of the Kisii County, he seems to be a corrupt leader. Our issue with the president is that he's known to have a double-speak mindset. We are torn either to believe him as citizen, whether he's genuinely fighting corruption or he's fighting political leaders. Simba, today you come where I come from, Roysambu, to support me for member of parliament, and I don't seem to align with UDA politics. What happens to me? All of a sudden I have a corruption case. Is it that an issue of EACC, the people that he's appointing on EACC are not doing their job? Is it that the DCI are not doing their job? Is it that the intelligence? You know, it is very sad. The former DCI boss is currently the man on NIS. This is a man who failed, rather, not DCI, but the DPP.
Yes.
This is a man who failed to prosecute a single corruption case. But these are people who are advising him on political leaders. So his choice of fighting corruption is questionable. And that's what we are saying, that he needs to empower these individual bodies of the government. We need to put the right people on EACC. We need to put the right people on DPP office. We need to put the right people on the DCS, so that people are taken to court based on merit or based on your criminal offense, whether you're corrupt or not. It will be very sad, Simba, that we, the common mwananchi, are left to fight corruption cases because we don't have money, because we're not political leaders. And it is on record that the Kimwarer and Aror Dam, the president said this is just 7 billion. But up to date, he cannot account the 7 billion that was lost. And what my good friend is saying, is afraid to say, that if the man on top fails to deliver, he must go. You know, where we come from, they say that the worst thing that can happen to a man is when you're on top and you fail to deliver.
Hillary, just end this particular conversation before I let you weigh in on other issues that are taking center stage in the country. I mean, leading by example, what would you rate the president in terms of fighting corruption? He's come out to speak about this over and over again. I've sat on this set and I've read his declarations. This is not his first declaration on fighting corruption in this country. Every other chance that he gets, he said, I assure the people of Kenya that no money, public money, is going to be lost. But then comes in and admits we are losing a lot of money. There's a lot of pilferage in the public sector, a lot of corruption. So when he says, I assure Kenyans that in my administration, no money is going to get lost, and then a couple of months later comes in and says, we're losing a lot of money. How different is President Dr. William Ruto from his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, who said, guys, we are losing over 2 billion shillings a day. And if it were not for me, we could be losing more. Are those not similar statements in different words?
Yeah, sure, it is similar statements in different words, but I would like to say corruption is something that is very critical, and the president has always stood right, and he has always said that he will fight corruption to the best that he can. And it's on record, and I don't know whether my fellow learned friends will challenge that the president has at least tried to fight corruption in this country.
Yes.
But he still feels like he has not done enough.
Yes.
Yeah, he has not done enough. And the same way we always say no man is perfect. And even as much as he will try to fight corruption in this country, the corruption that has been in this country has been there way long ago, from the time of Moi up to today.
Yes.
And I would like to tell you that even if you say today that Ruto has to go, the same way you are saying that he has failed to deliver according to your people, that he has to go. I tell you, even you, if you come back into the government, even if Raila was the president today, he would one day become the president, the corruption of this nation would still be left for another generation to face. Now, the president has to do his best. Yes. The only cry and the only request that you can have for him is let him try his best to fight corruption to his best capacity.
Does that?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Gentlemen, I'd like us to weigh on other issues that are happening in the country this morning. Quickly at that, we have a few minutes left of this particular program, and so I'll start like this. Here it is. Members of Parliament do not want to go into their new swanky office. It costs taxpayers, now wait for it, 9.8 billion shillings. Guess what? It was not supposed to cost this much. It was supposed to cost around 5.4 thereof, 5.2 actually to be exact. This is almost double the cost of this particular building from 14 years ago. This is what they're saying. The contractor did a shoddy job The officers are not MP-like. The finishing is poor, and so majority of them just do not want to go into this office that taxpayers' money has been used to construct it. Let's start like that.
On the issue of doubling the cost of building the building.
Yes.
I think what the government needs to do is just to look into the matter and take action. There's no shortcut to that. If the initial cost was supposed to be 5.4 billion and now it's around 9 billion,
yes,
then there's no shortcut to that, Simba. Those who are responsible for that, if there is indeed corruption in that project,
yes,
then the government needs to take action. There is no shortcut for that.
Does it?
MPs refusing to settle in that building, I think MPs are also overrating themselves. You know, our money has been used, the taxpayers' money has been used to create that building.
Yeah.
Do they want another building? Do they want an expansion? Do they want twin towers, a building that is similar to that, so they can be happy? I think MPs, you know, the president keeps saying that we must live within our means. I want to tell members of parliament.
They should live within their means.
Yes, they should live within their means.
Here's the thing. They don't want to go. They don't want to go into that building.
Yes.
They've done a couple of visits just to, you know, when a contractor gets done with a job, the tenants are called in to come and see exactly how the job has been done. But somebody asked this question, well, wait a minute, what was the last parliament to go in and get the process or how this building is coming up? But then somebody said that you have to go up to Mwai Kibaki's era, 14 years ago from when this building was started. That complicates issues. That they knew this building would get ready, it didn't get ready, the previous government came in place, the building didn't get ready. Just now, in this new government, it's when it's getting ready. So they say you can't put the blame on this parliament, you have to look back and ask questions in the previous government as to why they didn't question why it was taking this long and why the cost was increasing.
You know, Simba, I was listening to the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, this morning, and he seems to coerce the members of parliament who seem to be agreeing with that statement. As a matter of fact, he moved forward and declared, you know, when the speaker declares that any member of parliament who does not want, allegedly, because Bunge Towers is not complete, should come to the Powers and Privilege Committee and substantiate. Now, it is very sad that this building started before even we enacted the 2010 Constitution. 14 years down the line, the taxpayers' money has rose from 5.8 billion to almost 9.8 billion.
Yeah, even inflation numbers will not give you double the cost. Let's make sense of it. That even inflation numbers for those 14 years will not essentially double the cost of that building.
And you see, this motion was sponsored by the Senator of Nandi, one Samson Cherangani.
Yes.
Because I was just imagining, is it a tactic?
Yes.
Because the president is supposed to open Bunge Towers this Friday, actually tomorrow.
Yes.
And is it a scheme to postpone the opening of Bunge Towers? Is it a scheme for the contractor and the few MPs who do not feel satisfied on Bunge Towers? Is it a scheme that someone was given a tender to deliver seats, desks, and equipment and has not? Is it a scheme that the members, because you see, we in Azimio are not in government. So there's a high probability members of Kenya Kwanza, now the UDA, to get more tenders than us.
But
and you see,
your members of parliament are also saying no to that building.
Yes, they are saying so.
It's a common voice.
Well, our members, because I saw the minority leader.
Yes.
Minority leader was not agreeing to us not going in.
Yes.
He was questioning why are we not going in.
Yes.
And because I know the issues that were raised, the issues of are there proper seats, is the gym okay? Because I know I understand our MPs need to keep fit so that they stay long enough to pass laws
at the National House to debate and pass those laws. Yeah.
But I think it's a challenge because in as much as the government of the day wants to play that game of blaming perennial governments, this government is on record. When they were campaigning, they said they found empty coffers. It is almost 24 months. So we are putting them at a task. These 24 months, are you going to tell us that there were still empty coffers? I plead with the government, let the building open. Most Kenyans are suffering because they don't know where to go and see their member of parliament on issues of CDF, on issues of road. Because I know there are offices in KCC and there are offices just near Parliament, Intercontinental. And you know, if you're coming from where I'm coming from, Roysambu, and I want to put my member of parliament, Mwafrika Kamande, into check, because there are still muddy roads, there are still potholes, there's still an issue of CDF. Where should I go? Which office door should I knock? So is it a tactic for us not to go for what we deserve, Simba? So I am challenging the members of parliament that we currently have. We need to see you in Bunge Towers.
Hillary, is it the same sentiment that, listen, go in right now?
Yeah, at least you've agreed on this. At least you've come on board and you've said the MPs should go to the Bunge Towers.
Yes.
So it's an achievement for the Kenya Kwanza government that they have been able to complete these Bunge Towers within those 24 months. It is within 24 months now. You've categorically said it has taken time. From the time of Kibaki, the time of Uhuru, now it's time for the Ruto and Rigiji, and at least the building is complete. And I would love to second you still on the issue of knowing where do you find your MPs. There are so many people who are in this country, so many, very many, in fact, including me, who is from Rongo constituency. I've had very many people asking me, where do I find the MP?
Yes.
Very many people ask, where do I get the MP? But you'll not find him you'll not get access to him or her in an easy way. My MP is Paul Abor. He left your side, he has not left your side still. But just said he's supporting the Kenya Kwanza government. Yes. So I would also urge the MPs that please join the Bunge building.
Pretty much. Guess what then, gentlemen? And I'm going to give you 45 seconds each to respond to this particular one. In the confines of the wage bill conversations this morning, guess what? It was a magic bullet for the government to employ 60,000 intern teachers supposed to come in and sort of boost the workforce in the education sector that is already running on a deficit. Now, yesterday, a court has ruled that under labor laws and regulations, it's unfair because these interns are doing the same amount of work that the qualified members are doing. In fact, when you look at the qualifications, they're completely qualified. That there was a time they were interns within that particular system. So it's second time interning, getting paid a stipend to do this particular job. So now that particular position illegal, meaning interns today, they can have a class action, go back to court and say, for the period we've been interns, we want to get paid a proper salary. Hang on, is that the way to go? Did we it out in the respect of there are things that we pass in the government before a proper audit, or whether it's going to be legal or not?
Yeah, I think that is the reward of electing an incompetent government. That is the reward of electing individuals who do not understand how governments are supposed to be run. And yes, the interns have the right to go back and say that indeed we've not been paid a proper salary. Kikuyu is catching up. Yeah,
it's been a long day.
They have the right to do that.
Nick, here's the thing, and you only have 15 seconds to read. You're an intern.
Yes.
You went to school, you were qualified, but the government told you, we're going to call you an intern because we don't have the money to pay you. But after some time, we'll onboard you into the main system. But the amount of work that you do is similar to the amount of work that somebody who's paid under the payable and pensionable terms is doing.
What the government is just trying to escape is the reality of the wage bill, that it will catch up with them. I said it earlier, that teachers are having the conversation to go to the streets, whether you're an intern or a qualified teacher. And the government needs to decide how much they need to pay public servants, like teachers and doctors, who are the most critical people we have in our society.
Guess what, Hillary? 15 seconds. Do you know who was asked this particular issue when he went back to the National House? The AG, Muturi, was told, how is it that every other thing that the government is coming up with, when it faces the courts, it doesn't stand the water? It's got gaping holes in it. This is another one. I mean, we lauded it and said, wow, it's a genius move. Now we have intern teachers who are going to come in and also bolster the education sector. But the courts are saying, hold on, you can't be an intern twice, and you can't do the same amount of job as somebody who's getting paid by the government under permanent and pensionable terms. So it's illegal. Is there another question that we're going to ask AG Muturi as well? Like, hold on, you didn't see this? 15 seconds.
Yeah, sure, it's another question. And just as my fellow learned friends have said, I would also second and say,
Hillary, this morning you're really seconding. Are you sure you're going to step out of this studio before you get a message?
You know, he's afraid of losing his position.
I think we should plan on when to induct.
At some level, you know, we are also human. There is a moment whereby you put politics aside and you look at humanity and morality. That is, you as a person, what is your morals? What do you think is right, and what is the logic of doing all these things? Yeah.
Guess what? Gentlemen, thank you very much for making a part and parcel of this particular show this morning. This morning we were with Thiongo, Hillary, Nick, weighing on big issues this morning. Hillary this morning almost stepped out to the other side. I don't know whether he's going to step out as well when he gets out there. UDA government, look at him properly. Define his colors. Take them online and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kia Gasimba. Guess what? Tomorrow is another time for us to do this all over again. Goodbye.